last session before lunch is Dr. Claire Esoff is going to talk to us about the Falmouth Habitat project that she's been interfacing with the guys from the school.
How many slides? I guarantee most of the pictures, I know it's just before lunch, so I'm going to be relatively rapid because I've seen the lunch coming through, it looks great. Okay. I want to start, this is my dog, Particle. He gets to come on most field trips with me because he's relatively well behaved. He has a sister, Pickle, who is a pain in the proverbial. She doesn't come on field trips. Just to start off with, I think I'm one of the luckiest people in the job that I do. I run the marine science degree at Falmouth Marine School, and I'm part of a team along with Steve and Alex, and there's 3 foundation degrees that we run. Today, you've got all my second year students from those foundation degrees, and they started their course, their second year, again on Monday. So Monday was their first day, still in holiday mode, strolled into college. I had them at 1 o'clock and I said, right guys, on Thursday, you have to put together an exhibition about your ideas for your project that you're going to carry out this year. Please can I encourage you to go and talk to them, look at their stuff, and it's at both ends. We've got some cracking stuff just through that door. Okay? Harriet gave me the title of Inspiring Students. She does that, doesn't she? Pass me a button. Okay, so I started what inspires me. I go sea kayaking a fair bit, which is really handy because that links with all 3 of our degree courses. We've got marine science, so I look at all the stuff that's out there. We've got boat design and production. We've got one of our students here is wanting to design a pedal-powered kayak. I'm up for that. 2 hands-free. Glass of wine, biscuit. And we've got the marine sports scientists who give me hot tips about how I can improve my kayaking technique and how really I should be a bit lighter so I can be more efficient. But this was 2 years ago. Carry on. This is a grey seal. We have grey seals in colonies around the southwest. There's a permanent one on Black Rock, which 2 of our students who got their exhibition out there are planning to study this year. Carry on. This is juvenile male seal, and there are policies about how you don't approach wildlife. You don't want to disturb them generally. This guy just came straight up to the kayak, slapped his head on there, and they've got a reflex with their nostrils the opposite of ours. Ours stay open and we have to physically try and close them. For a seal, because it goes underwater, their nostrils stay closed and they physically have to open them to breathe. Does that make sense? This guy plonked his head on my kayak and proceeded to open his nostrils. Anybody smell seal breath? Spat all over my kayak. It was foul, absolutely foul. And seals are just amazing. I went out this summer with my 2 stepdaughters, 17, 16, jellyfish in the water. They didn't want to go in. They were having a real, you know, girls do that. And we saw one of these grey seals. This was in Porthguara, where there's a seal colony, which 2 of my students have spent the summer looking at. And we had another juvenile male seal and a female seal came into the bay. And so the girls decided they would go in the water in their wetsuits. After 40 minutes, they totally ignored me and my husband, played with the girls all this time. One of them had blue lips, she was so hypothermic, she just didn't want to get out. And the seal, just like this one, bottlenose right up in front of her and hugged her. And she hugged it back. So these are the kind of things that inspire me. So to try and translate that for my students, it's really difficult because it's all very personal, isn't it? It's all things that work for you. So I also wanted to get the reality of the workplace for these guys. They're going to be doing their second year now, and for us that means that they finish at the end of this year, and they want jobs. That's what they're here for, they want to get jobs. Please, I would take a bit of credit. Matt was in the first year that I came to Falmouth. So the first cohort of students, and aren't they just fantastic? So, reality of the workplace for these guys. 2010, The number of managers that make decisions, apologies, second years you've seen this, as you walk in the room. 39% of people, you don't even have to say anything. You walk in the room and somebody's made a decision about you, whether they want to give you a job. Based on personality. So, any guesses?
It's going to be pretty high. 60.
Oh, so close. 70%. So you walk in the room, loads of people have made a decision about you anyway, so wear the right clothes. And then you say hello, your handshake's weak or floppy, or they don't like the way you interact, you're not personable enough, or they don't think you're going to fit in with their team. Yeah? And that's what it comes down to, 70%. So these guys are up against it already, aren't they? 6 months after they graduate. Yeah? What they don't tell you is what kind of jobs these are.
Nothing wrong with those.
Okay. Couldn't find work. These were 39%. So those mathematicians, there's 2% missing. I'm presuming they didn't want a job. Okay. This is the scary stuff. They're racking up loads of debt. They're coming to study, racking up loads of debt. Over a 3-year course, they reckon about £23,000. So, that made a depressing picture. That made us think at the Marine School that we need to change what we do to teach these students. Yeah? We can teach them as much technical stuff as possible, but we know that to get a job, they need to be in the real world doing real stuff. But 3 years is a long time. Guys, can you tell them who this is? Oh, students, you know.
She needs a job though.
Yeah, she's been working too hard in the sunshine. Okay, so 3 years is a long time. So, what we're trying to do is, this is where we, part of that survey was, I'm sorry, we can't turn the lights off, can we?
Pull the slide in.
Okay, so the other thing that I thought was quite worrying is that when we find out what do people want, what do employers, what do you guys in the room want from students, technical competency is number 5. So knowing their subject is actually fairly low on the list. You know, we want loyalty, honesty, problem solving, ability to get on with people, a really strong work ethic, determination, all this kind of stuff. So we had a session on the Monday when they announced they were doing this, which is, employers want this, you have to prove that you've got this. You can't just walk in and say, I'm the best. You have to prove that you've got this. So this is where the Falmouth Harbour Commission came in, and this was with Harriet. More credit to Harriet, she's done loads. She's absolutely fantastic. Started over a G&T though. Share? Yeah, sorry. Lunch, definitely. So Falmouth works for the Harbour Commission. We met by chance, and I was talking about my students, how I'm bothered that they're not going to get jobs and what can we do to help. And Falmouth, Harriet was talking about her job at the Harbour Commission and how massive the task is that they've got to do. It's absolutely huge, managing this whole area, and it costs an absolute fortune. So Harriet and I got together and said, there must be something we can do together to give my guys real life experience and get things, and can I say the word cheap? Can I say the word free? Yeah? And can I say the word professional? Go and have a look at their stuff. They did it in 2 days. So these are guys in the room that are sort of slack and lazy. They are keen, they want a job, and they will help free. Okay? Well, maybe, you know, a cup of coffee and a cake. Okay? So, talked to Harriet, and Harriet gave me a load of information. Can you just flick through all these? We've got students who do boat design and production. They're interested in everything about how vessels work, how to improve them. Can you go back one? A little bit of MV, Falmouth Harbour Commission. Is it this one? Yeah. Their offices.
That's the coffee.
It's not fair. But one of the great things that Harriet's arranged is that our students have been out on the pilot boats with the harbour pilots. They get to see what's going on. Hopefully our boat design students might link in a bit more as well. the Falmouth Harbour Commission do everything to do with boating. We have marine sports scientists who are amazing in terms of their watery abilities. So they are kayakers, sailors. We've got 3 of them here today. The ones wearing the wetsuits, usually tip. And they've got great ideas for their project about investigating things like how cold you get and what you can do to prevent getting cold. Carry on. We're talking water transfer, invasive species, the slipper limpets. They've come in and they've taken over some of our beds, but we don't know how much or how many. I mean, we've just found out from Matt that we don't even know our tidal streams in the estuary. We found out from Philippa, we don't know what our anchors are doing. We don't really know what's down there. We found out from the guys from Plymouth that the samples you can do as a scientist are very, very small and cost a lot of money. We have 31 students ready and raring to go. Okay? Every year our courses are going to grow, so we want to have more students doing more real-life stuff. Make it cheaper for you lot. Carry on. We've got pontoons, eelgrass, moorings. We have dolphins in the bay as well. Has anybody seen them? Go on the trips, they're just fab. Yeah. Harriet told me that these are just some of the challenges the port has. Was there anything that we could do to help? And she came in May, and we took a subsection of our students, the marine scientists, and thought we'll test them. They should be used to experiments. She told them all about the port, gave them a bit of time to think, and then they came back with, I think we can do this. I'd really like to do that. I want to help you with this. And you'll see some of the products today. So we talked about project aims. We wanted to identify areas for student research, and it's many and varied. The port is so large. The marine scientists are going to concentrate on biodiversity. Key, we want to make these results known to the world. It's great having science, it's great having scientific papers, but how many people actually read them? I don't think anybody's ever read my PhD thesis. Even I didn't want to read it. Okay. Anaerobic bacteria from hypoxia and environments, if you're interested. No, nobody's ever interested. So, nobody really reads this stuff. I've got students in this room who are brilliant at communicating. It's one of their skills. It's one of the things you need for a job, isn't it? You need to be able to talk to people. So, we wanted to make this part of their projects. And lastly, we want to give real, relevant work experience and training and opportunities to the students. So, am I going to sell these to? Yes, I am. My students are brilliant. They're keen. They'll go anywhere. Look quite special. And we've got divers on board as well. Quite handy. Yeah. They will go out in all weathers. They will do the quadrat surveys. They will get the GPS results. We've got one of our students here, Jam, who's going to put all that data on one of these maps, GIS maps. So instead of you guys having to hunt through the literature search, it should all be on there. They're out there, all weathers, all times. This is an example of what we've done. We went to the Roseland. We went and identified lots of different species. Some of these are invasive, some aren't. Keep flicking through. I told you there's lots of pictures. Lots of lovely beasties. Great photos, great images. We've got good press as well. Pink sea fans. Yep, we can expand your knowledge of where they are. A lot of our guys are divers, so they see quite a few anyway. Jewel anemones. And what we did was, for this study in particular, we got the data together, so we can give you the science if you want the science. The students, they have to do that as part of their training, so we can give you the science. But we can also give you things like this. So this is about the wildlife that's under the sea. This is how we can help you communicate to the public. Hopefully we're going to help the port. If you go to see a lot of the stuff through there, it's aimed at younger students, so we want a plan to go to into all the schools, get them excited about the marine environment. Yeah. And this is probably the thing that I got most excited about for inspiration. A colleague and I went and snorkeled here in June. So this is the pontoon that's just out from Harriet's office. And just flick through these. Primrose anemone. If you look on the poster outside, just carry on going, there's loads of amazing pictures. And this was just snorkeling. The great thing about some of this stuff is that you usually find it on deeper sea reefs and wrecks. But if you literally kneel on the pontoon, put your head over the side, hang on a sec, this is what you'll see. And nobody knows it's out there. We've got one of our students, Lisa, who's at the back. She's got her stuff out there. Lisa's taken some amazing photos of the pontoons. She decided to follow this on and do a pontoon study. And her plan is to get a perspex layer that she's going to put into the pontoon so you can look through. Now scientifically that may well affect the kind of beasts you can see because they can suddenly get light. But she's also done a whole series of images, so she might place the images in the pontoon so it's still shaded, but you can see what's there. We've got other students who are willing to put things up. Nip over and see what some of our guys are doing with the watery things. They've taken on board how to do a presentation. There's sweets, loads of them. Take the sweets. We've got Clive and Ria on the side. They're doing undersea stuff where they're looking at eelgrass. So go and put your head in the box and you'll be able to see the images they took on video. There's so many of them doing so much good stuff, and we would just like your support in any way possible. This is the start of their year. So what you're seeing here is just their first ideas. We would like you, along with Harriet, to invite you back at the end of their year in June, where you can see some of the results. Hopefully you'll all come along and back them up. And I've been really mean to my students, really, really tight, because that's what it's like in the real world. You know, bosses are mean. They expect you to turn up on time, they expect you to be smart. So they all are smart today. They've all turned up on time. And I'm making them do as many work-like processes as possible. So if you flick on, I made them really cool
My name is Clive
projects.
And we're going to be doing a project whereby we're going to investigate the eelgrass beds in France harbour. At present, nobody's quite sure where they are. They're very important. The Falmouth Special Area of Conservation is based upon them, so it's imperative that we discover where they are and what kind of condition they're in. And Rob's going to go a little further than that.
Conditions and human eelgrass beds as much as I can. Hello, I'm Katie Sandbrook. My project is going to be on eggs and planktonic larvae, looking at various locations around the Fowl, rock pools, pontoons, eelgrass beds, oyster beds, and I think that covers it. Difficulties could be that eggs are found largely around spring and summer, so I need to get shifting on the project to make sure that I've got enough data to collect.
Hey, right. And I'm doing a test on aquaculture filters and how well they mature using biological bacteria supplements, and also determine different variables that may have an effect on the maturation of filters. Any problems? There could be some in that the bacteria don't mature at all. That would be quite a big problem, actually, because I don't have any more data. But that shouldn't be the case. I'm adding ammonium chloride to the system, so eventually bacteria will grow.
Hi, my name is Lisa Allen. My project is basically monitoring species growing on the bottoms of pontoons. The 4 pontoons in question are the ones behind the Maritime Museum, which was Pendennis, Molla, Falmouth Marina, and and the chain cord, and it's Haven. Yeah.
They're really going to hate me now, they didn't know that was coming up. This was in May they had a go at this. Some of them have changed their minds. Some of them have developed their projects, they've found out a lot more, and they are refining it, as it were. That's all I've got to say to you today. Part of the task for the students is to get to know as many of you here as possible. So if you wouldn't mind, while you're eating your lunch, you will be accosted by students who will want to talk to you, find out your area of expertise, and thank you very much for helping us. It's been great.
we've finished 5 minutes, or still 5 minutes ahead, so if there are any questions for Claire, that would be great.
Come on.
Comment and declaring interest.
You want some students?
Well, my former employers, the Harbour Commissioners, I commend them, and certainly it's really pleasing to see how far KTB has taken the Harbour Commissioners. My little flag to fly is little old Truro and Penryn. We have ports as well, and there's lots of challenges for us, and it's actually mentioned in the newsletter flying around. I mean, some of them we can have a bit of a laugh at, but we're working with very closely with Kevin on alien invasive species, and I'm sure those of us in the municipal world and the government organisations are really strapped for cash, and you'll find out what's going to happen in October.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Kevin, whether you want
I'm
to...
sure we've got all sorts of things we can
All
talk about.
sorts.
And
These guys are great doing belt transects, invasive species. They've already got their lists. They're
So
ready.
there are lots of partners, and there's lots of potential partners, and I'm sure, you know, the big problem for the small organisations like ours is the resource at managing, and I think the key Harriet's engagement here is having the time to engage with the scientists, because I must confess, as a practitioner, sometimes we hold scientists at length because of the perceived threats to our sort of livelihoods.
We're normal, honest. And I love, guys, Mark, go and catch him.
Can
Offer
I
your
get to the table
services.
first?
Any more questions? Okay, well, it's been a really excellent morning session. Thank you very much indeed to all the speakers. That's been some really interesting and thought-provoking presentations this morning. I'm sure there's lots to talk about over lunch. And of course, there's plenty more time to go and have a look at the exhibition of what the students have been doing, which I think is fantastic. Some really interesting and diverse output there. So thank you very much.